Hello and welcome to Maruti Suzuki Arena presents ESPN Cricinfo Matchday. If you've got nothing to do on a Sunday, put your pads on, get a bat out and go to the PCA Stadium in Mohali because everyone is whacking it out of the ground, including Jasprit Bumrah, who will not feature on the summary but will remember this for time to come. His first international six seals off a 358 for 9 runs that India have piled on after winning the toss. And Shikhar Dhawan has roared back into form with a career best 143. That's more than what he's got in his last 9 innings put together. Ably supported by Rohit Sharma. That partnership is certainly well in going, which we knew would only be about time, given that we spent the last 10 shows talking about how their recent form is a worry. But Deep Dasgupta and Brad Hodge will now look back at 50 overs of batting carnage, which is something we did expect, Deep. Given the pitch and given the history of the PCA Stadium, those are some welcome return runs for Shikhar Dhawan and co.
Absolutely, no two ways about it. And as you mentioned, we were talking about both of them for the last few games at least. Before the game started, I mentioned that Shikhar, he's been out of runs, but not really out of form as far as I was concerned. Because today also, the way he started off was very, very positive with his footwork. That is one thing that I keep looking at Shikhar. Whether he's a little, slow with his footwork or not. But today, again, he came out with very positive footwork. And again, I thought he played very, very well. And every time he hit a ball, it went into the gap. It was one of those days.
Yeah, why don't you elaborate on that a little more before I go to Haji? I like the phrase you used. You used it on the pre-show too. He's not looked out of form, he's just looked out of runs. How do you make that difference and justify that you did see runs coming sooner rather than later?
Yeah, see, how I see a player is whether you've got to look at the process. At times you get runs, you don't get runs. It also depends on a lot of other things. You could get out to a good delivery, maybe a bad decision or something. But the most important point as a player is to figure out whether you're hitting the ball well or not. Are you in the right positions to play your strokes? Whether are you getting out? At times you just make one mistake and you get out, irrespective of how good you were looking or batting. So I think that was the case with Shikhar. I found that even when he was getting those 20s and 30s, he was timing the ball well. He was in good positions to play his strokes, but he wasn't getting those big runs. And that's what I mean when I say he was out of runs, but was not looking out of form as such.
Okay, let's look at the areas that he did get his runs, Shikhar Dhawan. He hardly gave Australia an opportunity. Yes, it was easy batting conditions, you'd say, but he still played a glorious innings. There seemed to be a sense of purpose about Dhawan, Haji. We did speak of the talk that is started with India looking at reserve openers. KL Rahul was slotted into this. I don't know how much of an impact that might have made, but just thoughts on the Shikhar Dhawan innings that looked pretty good from start to finish.
It looked amazing. It was a real Shikhar Dhawan special, actually. So, it's hard to critique such a marvelous innings when we haven't seen a lot from from the top order, apart from Virat from Indian team. But it was a sublime touch, actually. There wasn't a lot of movement on offer. Didn't really trouble the batsmen at all, the Australian bowlers, and Shikhar Dhawan in particular got the Indian team off to a pretty good flyer because Rohit looked a little bit apprehensive early, but Shikhar Dhawan looked in complete control with great confidence. So, good work from Virat and the team management to actually to keep that confidence going. There's a bit of talk behind the scenes, but they're quality players.
Yeah, good. You have to give credit to the selection as well, Deep. There could have been a case to just rotate more than drop because we know Shikhar Dhawan's a valuable ODI player, but they've stuck with him. Even if they wanted to give KL Rahul game time, it wasn't at the expense of either Shikhar or Rohit.
Yeah, credit to the team management because, you may go out to the world and say, listen, you're not dropped, you're just rested, we are rotating. You can use as many phrases as possible. But as a player, if I'm not scoring runs and I've been rested or rotated or whatever it is, in my mind, I'm thinking I'm dropped. In my mind, I'm thinking, listen, somebody else is getting an opportunity before me. I haven't scored runs. There's a good chance that I might not start the next series. And in this case, we're talking about a World Cup here. So I think it was very good on the team management's part to not kind of rotate, play all three of them and continue with Shikhar and Rohit.
It is a career best score for Shikhar Dhawan. What a way to answer any doubters or at least people asking questions about his recent form. He's only going to be as good as his last innings, and his last innings now is a career best 143. It ended up being a partnership of 193 with Rohit Sharma that also gave India the platform, just the platform that they needed. So they have continued to pile on more and more records. So let's get straight into them. It's not the first time we'll be looking at Rohit Sharma and Shikhar Dhawan records, and it's certainly not going to be the last in ODI cricket. As far as the most opening partnerships, 100-run partnerships go in ODI cricket, they are only third to Ganguly, Tendulkar and Gilchrist Hayden. Shouldn't be long before they equal the iconic left-handed Aussie duo ahead of them. Some more runs, some more numbers coming your way as we look at Dhawan and Rohit continuing their assault in ODI cricket. This is number 2 on the highest opening wicket partnership against Australia in ODIs. All right, there you go. Dhawan and Rohit looking good. If that we were talking about questions in that partnership, Haji, that marriage seems to have found its charm again, and it's a different approach that it's a different approach that they tend to take. You mentioned that Rohit, we know, likes to take his time, which somewhat puts the onus on Shikhar Dhawan, an out of form Shikhar Dhawan, not only to get the runs but to just get them quickly.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great partnership, wasn't it? They really they were at their best today, and I guess that's the fascinating thing about this Indian side, that when those top 3 get going with Virat at number 3, it's nearly unstoppable. So yeah, really positive news for the Indian team. Rohit and Shikhar in particular climbing up that ladder of legends. When you look at those 10 players in particular on that ladder, it's just phenomenal. And chasing down the great Gilchrist and Hayden, and also Ganguly and Sachin. So right up there with the best of them.
Again, I don't think they would have had doubts or insecurities about their place given what they've done already in this team, Haji. But when you've got an extra opener who's playing at number 3, that sometimes give you a little more purpose, just to, just nothing sloppy early on. Don't give anyone an opportunity. Make sure that there isn't even the question that, okay, maybe one of them's out of form.
Yeah, look, I think that Virat drives his team very closely and monitors how it's going. And he would have been a little bit concerned, I think, about the recent form, not just in this series, but prior to this series of those two. And, getting momentum into that World Cup is also important. So, I think he may have just had a quiet word to them and said, it might be just time to start turning it on. Your place is well and truly secure. So don't worry about, any media or any ins or outs of the team. You guys are at the top, and just go out and perform the best you possibly can on a good wicket. And they've done that. So that'll put Virat in good shape going forward.
Yeah, basically just don't worry about us and what we have to say. We'll say good things once the runs
Pretty
come aboard.
much.
Yeah. Deep, the two of them, to the last word on you on the partnership, they also seem to like playing with each other when both of them are going together. That's why those runs, those spells we've seen Rohit when Shikhar gets out early plays differently. We've seen Shikhar when Rohit gets out, play a little differently. They both sort of feed off each other, don't they? There's something about their chemistry.
And they complement each other really well. I mean, as you mentioned, Rohit tends to take a little more time to start off his innings as compared to Shikhar. I mean, if you look at the first 20 deliveries that they played, Shikhar would be around 22 in his 20 deliveries. On the other side, Rohit was around 8 in his first 20 deliveries, but then almost made up. They were almost run the ball by the time they reached in their 90s. So I think they complement each other really well. They understand each other very well. I think there is a bond there. There's a connection there between these two. And that's the secret behind those numbers that you showed a while ago. In the past also, you've seen opening pairs who are very good players, but you need that chemistry between those players as well. They understand each other, and that's the secret or the key behind this successful partnership.
Excellent. Now, we should give full credit and full marks to both Shikhar Dhawan and Rohit Sharma. Any doubters have at least been silenced for now, and it'll be good for Virat Kohli to know that the runs, 358 of them, have come when only 7 came off his own bat. So good on India's openers. But we move on and talk about the next phase of the innings. And one good thing for a lot of Indian fans, especially when India bat first and tend to see themselves in strong positions early, is that it's not like they somewhat underachieve after being in those positions, which Deep, we know has been a trend in recent times. We'll just have a look at the way the innings progressed. And one thing you did see is India continued to keep their foot on the pedal. They didn't slow down. There was no regrouping sort of phase, maybe a slight phase as KL Rahul and Virat Kohli were just trying to start off. But even otherwise, breezy 36 from Rishabh Pant, good little finish from Vijay Shankar too. So they kept going, 31 to 40. Now they lost Virat Kohli's wicket in the 40th over, and they still managed to get about 91 runs in the last 10 after. So I like the way they approached the innings even after the start that they got, Deep.
Yeah, and a lot of it depends on the security that these players have. If you look at the players who came after that partnership, Virat is secured. Obviously, KL Rahul was looking to score some runs here, but to a great extent, I believe his place is also secured going forward. And then you have someone like Rishabh Pant who has a license to play his natural self. I think that is what he's been encouraged by the team management, by everyone, the captain as well, to just go out there and play his natural game. Then you have someone like Vijay Shankar, who's also kind of secured his position now. Kedar Jadhav. So I think if you have that security in the side, then you don't see that blip in the momentum, and I think that's the key here in this innings.
Yeah, if you look at that middle order, Haji, do you look at it as, my God, India have got some serious reserves even when MS isn't playing? You got a guy like Rishabh Pant comes in, can whack a quick fire 20, 30, whatever it is. Vijay Shankar now looks good, even if he has to come at number 4 or if he has to come in at number 7 and tonk a few.
Yeah, he looked good at number 7 actually, Vijay Shankar. So, with Hardik Pandya not playing or not in the 11, you need that firepower down the end, and he certainly showed some firepower, which was great. I love his flexible versatility, moving up the order and being flexible for his team's great. I love Rishabh Pant. I said at the start of the game, I'd love to see this guy in, even with MSD playing. I think he's in, your top 5 batters in the country, and to see that talent and the way he went about his work was extraordinary. So, and I really like another left-hander in there as well. You can see it disrupts the bowling unit.
Yeah.
And they had no answers for him at all.
Yeah, that having been said, let's also again go back to a call that I quite like Virat Kohli taking, Deep, that in spite of 31 overs and a very solid start, he could have easily walked in at 3, but he wanted to give KL Rahul some game time.
Absolutely, and this is what I'm saying. This team management, they have a plan, and I'm glad they're sticking to that plan. They wanted to approach this whole series in a certain way, looking at the bigger picture, and they continue to do so irrespective of the results. They're not too bothered about what the result's going to be, and that is good. I mean, if you have the bigger picture and you have a clarity of thought how to go about things, I think that helps not just the captain, the team management, but the whole team itself.
Okay, and the final ball of that innings, I must get a comment from both Deep and Haji and try and see if they can remember any of their number 11s or remember the mood in the dressing room when their number 11 hit his first international 6, that too of a bowler of the pedigree of Pat Cummins and of the first ball that he's faced. Deep, you could go first. The dressing room was jumping and delighted for Jasprit Bumrah.
Yeah, that was a kind of reflection of whatever happened in the first 50 overs of this game. And as far as somebody else, I've always been reminded of by Ashish Nehra, his 6 of, I think it was Flintoff of someone at Lords. I mean, he keeps reminding me about that 6. So yeah, that's the only thing that comes to my mind after seeing that 6.
Right, probably sums up, Haji, how reasonably easy it is to get runs on this pitch.
You've been tonked around the park when Bumrah comes in and launches one over long on last ball. I mean, that's a pretty much a momentum killer too, going into the half break. As a batting unit, you want to be up and about, but when you see your lion-hearted Patrick Cummins get dispatched into the fence by Bumrah, there's not a lot of positives to take into that account. So, well done to him. It was a pretty good shot, actually. Got a good click of it. So, you tick that box. Well done.
You got a number 11 story for me? One that you remember? First-class cricket, 2020 cricket, someone you never expected. And some number 11s can really bat. Jasprit Bumrah is not one of those.
No. Look, I can't say I take a lot of notice when the number 11's batting, to be honest.
Not too many number 11s batted in the teams that you played in as well. One thing that they'll never let Bumrah forget this, but would you be cruel and not let Pat Cummins forget this either?
Well, look, I'm pretty happy for Paddy. I mean, Australia'd be in dire trouble without Pat Cummins this summer. So he's got fifer. If you get hit for 6, so be it. So, I mean, there was one I can remember. It was Dirk Nannes hitting Umar Gul for 6 at Edgbaston in a T20 game for Australia. It was the most remarkable thing that I've ever seen because it's just not humanly possible.
Okay, let's say good things about Pat Cummins and forget that last ball 6 can happen to anybody, against anybody. Pat Cummins 5 wickets, and like Brad Hodge rightly points out, where would Australia be without those blows? It was hard to bowl on this pitch, Hodgie. Just sum up Pat Cummins' performance, why he still somehow manages to get wickets on a day where it's hard for the bowlers.
Yeah, he's just a remarkable performer, isn't it? It didn't start well for him, but he came back and He's such a tough competitor, and we've seen him carrying Australia, all the way through the summer, starting back in the Test series. So yeah, what a lion-hearted performance. It goes to show. What goes to show is that India took full toll of Australia only having 4 frontline bowlers today. We saw that. That's what happened to India last game. So yeah, it's a conundrum when we lose Stoinis. It does hurt us, but Patrick Cummins, what a performance! What a lion-hearted person. You'd have him in any team in the world.
Ajit keeps saying this, Deep, whenever we talk about bowling, especially on these flat Indian pitches, there's an Indian length which at times overseas bowlers don't quite get. It's more applicable perhaps to Test cricket than it is to one-day cricket. But something about Pat Cummins, he seems to get it. He got the ball to reverse perhaps more than some of the others. We'll know how easy it is to bat once India's bowlers bowl too. Something about Pat Cummins that separates him for you from other fast bowlers that somehow find themselves at sea on an Indian pitch.
When I look at Pat Cummins, I think what separates him is his temperament. Because as a bowler, you do realize, it's not easy, but you want the bowler to realize this is not your kind of a surface. As a bowler, you will get hit. But at the same time, you've got to have the temperament and clarity of thoughts to still go on and keep doing what is right. And I think that's what Pat Cummins has, the clarity of thought and the temperament to bowl on surfaces like this. And every time he was picking up wickets, I was like, you know what, Hodges picked him up in his Fab 4 and he's picking up points here.
Yeah, you've teased us into it. We will go, and I think it's quite close because I know you picked Rohit and Hodges picked Pat Cummins. It should be close when we actually get there. But is there any word of critique at all for the Aussie bowlers? Hodges, what do you think they're missing on days like this when you know it's hard and you're still trying for your bowlers to keep you at least in the game, 300, 310, and sometimes you're in 350, 360. You've almost been outbatted, though anything can happen in ODI cricket. Was there something that you'd like to see Australia do differently or better when they get this sort of pitch to play on next?
Yeah, just variations, I think. I thought it was pretty difficult on a pretty good wicket for Aaron Finch to juggle around his bowlers. Even with Aaron having a bowl himself goes to show it's a pretty tough day. But yeah, just have courage to throw a lot more variations in, especially at the deep end when batters are coming hard for you, chasing 8, 9s, 10s and over. I just think that we lacked a little bit of variation. That might be a little bit of inexperience as well from Richardson and Berendorf. So Pat Cummins was probably a bit of a lone soldier out there. I thought Adam Zampa bowled pretty well as well. So he continues his form. So still good signs for our bowling unit.
If anything, I know he's ruled out with a hand injury. It wasn't a selection call, and he's not done much bowling in this series. But Marcus Stoinis perhaps could have been handier today of any other day at a ground he's familiar with it in IPL cricket.
Yeah, and look, when the wicket is flat, you need more variations in your bowling unit than your batting because, hey, when it's flat, you know that usually your top 4 get the job done, and that's the case. So, maybe they could have, in hindsight, brought in an AJ Tye to help, help the bowling stocks. But it's a tough call. Ashton Turner comes in for a batter which has done pretty well in Stoinis. He hasn't bowled a lot, but he probably would have bowled at least 7 or 8 overs today. Okay,
tough chase ahead then for Australia in our final match day match point. They do have sweet memories of Mohali having chased down a score in excess of 300 here in the past, though this is significantly higher even on those regards. But they've got their work seriously cut out, 359 to get, and that too with arguably India's strongest bowling lineup with Chahal back in the side. Deep, thoughts?
Well, it's going to be obviously very, very difficult, but you can't rule the chase out of the picture either because it has happened before. So it's going to be extremely tough, but I'll still give Australia a 20% chance of chasing this down.
Yeah, let's just have a look at how Australia have gone about chasing 300 plus scores since 2018. It's not gone well for them, but I hardly doubt you should worry too much about not being able to chase 300. This is of course only recent numbers. Like I said, they did manage to successfully chase 300 at this ground a few years back. Do you expect India spinners to bowl any better than, say, as good as Zampa was? This is for both of you, Hodgie and Deep. Maybe Deep, you can go first. Do you expect India spinners to get more out of this?
I would like to believe yes, and especially the ground dimensions. If you look at it, it's a biggish ground, even though it's a fantastic surface to bat on. But the ground itself is pretty big. And both the spinners, I think the good part about both Chahal and Kuldeep is they are wicket-taking bowlers. irrespective of how many runs they give, instinctively what they look at is how they can pick wickets, and that's going to be the difference.
Haji?
Yeah, I agree with Das. They, 100%. That they're more attacking style of bowlers, so they should get a little bit more out of it. They're probably Australia going to have to come hard. So you might see some wickets taken through. Some players trying to penetrate the boundary, but they're going to be tough. They're good bowlers, so Australia will have their work cut out from, no doubt.
Okay, so I think it might be a closer contest on the Fab 4 picks between Deep Dasgupta and Brad Hodge. Now, they're both having a bit of a laugh. You should have picked Shikhar Dhawan. You need to back someone out of form, gentlemen. When you keep saying that he's looking good, he's not looking out of form, he's only out of runs. What? Deep, you should have picked Shikhar Dhawan. Let's have a look at how your Fab 4...
Yeah, I can keep that in mind, mate.
Let's have a look at how Deep selections fare so far. Rohit Sharma's got him a nice 105 points. Bumrah, 6 and counting. He should add to that tally. Glenn Maxwell with 10 points with a catch, and Virat Kohli with 7. So 128. You feeling good about your chances at halftime, Deep?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm banking on Maxwell and Bumrah now.
Yeah, and Hodgie's already got, 100 points, I think, with Pat Cummins' 5-wicket haul. He was dearly hoping, at least 100 only of Pat Cummins and the extra 30 for the 5-wicket haul. So you were seriously hoping that the third umpire overturns the soft signal of that 5th wicket cotton bowled. And you've got KL Rahul's 26 points. And that's a decent bunch of options. You've got Hodgie, Chahal and Khwaja. Should add to your tally.
Well, I'm excited. That's I think I'm already about 80 points ahead of last game's full tally. So, looking good.
Yeah, what it'll do is it should keep you awake in the wee hours of the Melbourne time zone. So let's hope that your interest stays reinvigorated in this game. Thoughts then? Is anyone going for a heist for Australia to pull off? Put your hand up, Deep, Hodgie.
Yeah, I think they'll go close. I'm going to back them in today. The Aussies are coming.
Yeah, what's the harm? Usman Khwaja gets 195. Pat Cummins might smash a few as well to add to Hodgie's
Maxwell.
total.
If somebody gets runs, it'll be Maxwell.
Yeah, well, if Deep wins tonight, I'll actually be happy because it means Maxi has peeled off 100. So, come on, boy.
Thank you, Brad Hodge and Deep Dasgupta. Pick up this conversation after the Australia innings. Remember, they are fighting to stay alive in this series. So we'll be back with our post show on Maruti Suzuki Arena presents ESPN Cricinfo Matchday.